Hi, my name is Steve with Homestrung Jewelry. Today I'm going to show you how to take this amethyst bead and wire wrap it into a pendant. To make the Amethyst Sky pendant, you're going to need 4 inches of 26 gauge wire, 12 inches of 22 gauge wire. The wire in this case is silver plated copper. It's a craft wire with an enamel coating to prevent oxidation. You also are going to need a 3mm glass or shell pearl. And finally, you're going to need a pendant stone. This has been drilled top to bottom. It's approximately 15 by 30 millimeters. This is amethyst. It's a type of chevron amethyst. It has a slight twist to it. You could also use an oval or you could use a square stone. Tools you're going to need. First off, you're going to need a 5mm mandrel of some sort. In this particular case, I'm using a knitting needle. You're also going to need a pair of flush cutters or cutters. And then also optionally, keep a pair of chain nose pliers at hand. They're sometimes helpful for moving the wire around, adjusting, pulling, etc. To begin with, we're going to take the 5mm mandrel and the 22 gauge wire and leaving about a 1-inch tail on the end and wrapping from the front. We're going to wrap 3 times around the mandrel, pushing that coil together, and where it comes together, we want to squeeze those 2 wires together a little bit. You could use your pliers for this, but just using fingers and fingernails seems to work just fine. Keep your mandrel at hand. We're going to be using it a couple more times. Now with your cutters, cut this short end of the wire so that you have cut it down to about a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch of wire. And this is going to be going into the pendant stone. Generally speaking, when they drill a stone like this, they don't just run a drill from one end to the other. They drill it halfway, flip the stone over, and then they drill it again. And sometimes they don't come together very well in the middle. And so though you might be able to get one wire through, putting the double wire through may be a little bit of a problem. And so that's what we're going to do next. We're going to take the wire and run it down through the hole in the mandrel. And when we get to the second wire, we're going to run it through as well, so that we have this sitting on top serving as a bell for our pendant. Now we're going to take the wire where it comes out of the bottom of the pendant, and we're going to fold that over, bringing it to the front. And now we're going to make a couple of little curlicues, a couple of little twists or spirals in the wire. And I do this first by holding the wire. I put my thumb over the top of it about a third of the way from the bottom of the pendant. And then I'm just going to rotate this around while I'm holding it and bring it all the way around. And there's our first little loop. The second loop, I'm going to hold the pendant again, or the wire again on the pendant, a little over halfway to a third of the way up the stone, and we're going to wrap that around again. Again, bringing the wire counter or clockwise. And bring that around till I have a second loop. There's 2 loops on the side of the stone. Now we're going to take the wire and we're going to fold it around the edge of the pendant, bring it around to the back, diagonally across the bottom of the pendant. You notice I'm holding the wire in close to the pendant stone at all times, just so we get a nice fit. And we're going to bring this out right about where that other loop is. And we're going to make another loop right here across from the first one. And again, we're going to do this in the same direction. So I'm holding it down with my thumb and bringing the wire around. And let's pull that a little tight. Let's bring this so it's pointing down just a little bit. Okay, so there's our third loop. Now we're going to make 2 more loops right across from this second loop on the other side, and we're going to do these the other direction. So again, I'm holding my thumb just a little past the halfway mark and rotating the wire and the stone while I'm holding it in tight. We're going to make 1 loop, and then we're going to, right next to it, we're going to make a 2nd loop. Just like the first one. There we go. Now we take there's what it's going to look like. Now we're going to take the end of the wire and wrap it around, pulling it tight around these 3 coils. Let's bring this around twice, one right above the other, and bring it so it finishes up over here on the side. I'm going to put the bell or the mandrel back into the bell just to make sure that it's all straight and looks nice. And we can now trim this wire off over here on the side. Let's trim it just a little more. And use your pliers to tuck that in. There we go. There's where we're at so far. I'm going to take this thing and point it down just a little bit so it fits in there a little better. Okay, now we're going to take the 26 gauge wire and we're going to slip it underneath the 2 wires, and I usually take the end of the wire and hold it down just for leverage, and take this over the top, and we're going to pull these wires together, and we're going to slip it down underneath the 2 wires, and we're going to pull it tight. So that we have a good loop that's formed there. We're going to do this 4 times. So there's the second one. Make sure you pull it tight each time. You might have to work with the wires a little bit to keep them up off the stone so you can fit this wire underneath. Okay, there we've got 4 wires. Let's push this down just a little bit. Pull that up. That's what it's looking like. Now we're going to add the 3mm pearl. And again, this can be a glass pearl. I think this particular one is a preciosa, but you could also use a shell pearl. We're going to put that right over the top and then bring the wire once again through where the 2 wires come together. And pull that tight to pull the pearl into place. And then we're going to wrap it we want 4 wraps on this side as well. So there's the first one. Pull it down tight against the pearl. Using your cutters, let's trim the ends here, and you can kind of okay, and there we have the wire wrap pendant. Now, if the wires seem a little loose up here in front, this isn't too bad, but if you want to tighten this up a tiny bit, you can come to the back, put your chain nose or another pair of pliers on the back, just grab hold of it and give it a twist. And that will tighten up the front a tiny bit. Before we go any farther, we take the bell at the top and take our fingernails and we just kind of rabbit ear this a little bit so we have a little bit better support. And there you have the Amethyst Sky pendant. Now this pendant is part of a set that includes bracelet, earrings, and a necklace. If you'd be interested in this set along with the printed instructions, the link is in the comments down below. Also, if you have any comments about this or any suggestions for future projects that you'd like to see, feel free to comment. Also, one more thing, if you would be interested in more projects like this, we encourage you to hit the subscribe button and also the like button, because that lets everybody know that we're here and that we exist. We thank you and we look forward to seeing you again soon.